Anyone can achieve fluency in English. I'm not saying that it's easy or quick, but it's possible for you, and in the end, it will be so worth it. If you're curious how I learned English from a complete beginner to sounding like this today, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm sharing a couple of practical tips that I felt like actually moved the needle for me on my English learning journey. If you're new here, you're very welcome. My name is Yuki. I'm a lawyer and YouTuber based in Hong Kong, and English is my second language. My first practical tip is actually to have lots of input. Watch YouTube and Netflix, just choose something that you enjoy. Watch it with subtitles at first if you really want to understand what's going on, but the key point here is to get used to what English sounds like as a language. Think of language as music. The consonants and vowels and where you put the stresses come together to form a particular sound and rhythm. It is not just individual musical notes played one after the other. Different languages make different kinds of music. The point of getting a lot of input at this stage is to get used to what the language sounds like and how it flows. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm linking a video down below about how English sounds like to non-native speakers. You won't be able to understand a word in it because it's all gibberish. But it also kind of sounds like English to our ears because of how the sounds cluster and how the stressed and unstressed syllables appear alternately. And that is the music of English as a language. If you don't already consume a lot of content in English, I would recommend starting small. For example, aim to watch 1 or 2 YouTube videos in English every day. If you don't have an idea, I'd recommend going with a talking head video like the one that you're watching now, because talking head videos tend to talk a lot and that helps you get into the flow of the language. And also, I'd suggest watching a video to begin with rather than listening to a podcast, because I found it actually quite helpful to look at how the person pronounces the word to see how the sounds are formed from their mouths. Once you've built that habit, I would recommend adding a bonus challenge. Is there a word or phrase that they say that you don't already understand? Go look it up. There's no need to force yourself to keep a language notebook. Obviously, you can do that if you're the very super organized type, but there's no need to do any hard studying. This habit will gradually compound over time. You'll find that much of the spoken language is actually just the same words and phrases repeated over and over again. You'll start noticing how some words you've learned from earlier videos will come up in the videos you watch later. The second tip is to practice thinking in English. To become fluent, the language has to become part of who you are and how you think. If you're like me and you live a lot in your head and have a very exciting internal life, it's probably not weird for you to have conversation with yourself, your colleague, your ex, your friends in your head. Try doing it in English. If it's weird to talk to yourself, try journaling. Try writing down what happened or how you feel about a certain person or thing. It doesn't have to have a particular format and you don't have to force yourself to write every day. Just make it a habit whenever you feel like it. Write down the date and scribble a few lines. When I started journaling as a school kid, I strangely wrote a lot about my track and field training because I worried about them a lot. Now I still journal whenever I feel like I need to offload some mental burden. I write about work, how I feel about certain events and certain people, and brainstorm plans for the coming months. So this journal isn't something you're going to show other people, so it doesn't matter if it's purely fictional or it's about something embarrassing. It's your outlet, and what it does is that it teaches your brain to formulate thoughts and express emotions in English. And that is crucial for assimilating English into your blood and heart and soul. Once you have a consistent habit of getting input in English, it's time to practice your spoken English. Not just with anyone. See if you can find a fellow second language English learner who doesn't also speak your native language. So say if your native language is Cantonese, go and speak to a Japanese person in English. This goes against the common advice of try to speak to a native English speaker, but there's actually a lot of benefit in doing so. First of all, it will immediately be less awkward for you because you wouldn't feel as self-conscious as you would be speaking to a native English speaker. You wouldn't be so self-conscious about the mistakes that you're making, and you can focus on the thing that actually matters, and that is communication. The key here is to get used to English coming out of your mouth. Don't worry about making mistakes at this stage. If you're now living in an English-speaking country and you're kind of in this swim or die situation, all the better. The rule of language is the more you use it, the better you become. If you have to use it every day, you just can't help but improve. Go mingle with the native speakers. I know you're worried about making mistakes and sounding like a fool, but most people look kindly on others who are trying to learn their languages. They may have trouble understanding you, they may be confused, but they're not going to be offended or laugh at you. Well, some people are complete jerks and they do look down upon people who are non-native speakers, but we don't want to have anything to do with them anyway, so who cares? Once you are actually communicating in English, the hardest thing is actually to get feedback and corrections. There may be words that you have mispronounced all your life, but people will autocorrect these words in their heads rather than tell you because, it's an awkward thing for most people to do. For example, for the longest time, I've actually pronounced this word as colleague. No, it's colleague. I only learned this because a kid that I was tutoring told me I pronounced it funny. So in order to get feedback and correction, you actually have to actively wrestle them out of people. If there's someone who's close to you who's a native English speaker, try asking them, hey, I'm actually trying to improve my spoken English and I need some honest feedback. Have you noticed any words or phrases that I've constantly mispronounced or used incorrectly? Please help me by pointing them out to me in future. You'd be surprised how helpful people actually are, and priming them in that way, let them know that you're actually trying to learn and will not be offended if they correct you in future. I'll be making a video on improving your accent as a non-native speaker, which I'll link here when it's available. If you haven't already, go and check out part 1 of this video where I talked about the what and the why of my English learning journey from beginner to fluency. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next video.